Hi grade 10s. Today we're going to look at graphing linear equations. If you want to graph a linear equation, we can do it using one of three methods. We can use the x and y intercepts, we can use the slope and the y-intercept, or we can use just any 2 points on the graph. We could also use a graphing calculator or computer software. Now it says we'll do this as later, but we already did it in a previous unit. So we're going to look at how to graph these lines manually. So graph the linear equation x minus 4y minus 8 equals 0 using the x and the y intercepts. So if we have any line, the x-intercept is where y is equal to 0. So the x-intercept is where y equals 0. So x-intercept is where y equals 0. So we have x minus 4y minus 8 equals 0. So we have to substitute in 0 for y. So that's x minus 4 times 0 minus 8 equals 0. We get x minus 0 minus 8 equals 0. Now, what we're going to do is we get x minus 8 equals 0, x equals 8. Okay? So the x-intercept is 8. So we can do the same thing to find the y-intercept. Now the y-intercept, we're looking for the opposite intercept. So instead of y being 0, well, x is equal to 0. So it's x minus 4y minus 8 equals 0. Going to plug in 0 for x. So 0 minus 4y minus 8 equals 0. Then we get negative 4y minus 8 equals 0. Negative 4y equals 8. Y equals negative 2. So that's the y-intercept. Alright? So now we have the x-intercept and the y-intercept. Now it says the x-intercept is 8, so where would that be? Well, it's the x-intercept, so it's on the x-axis, that's 8. The y-intercept is at negative 2, so that's right here. So now we have 2 points. That's all we need to make any line. So now all we need is some kind of a straight edge. Something that draws a straight line. Ruler would be good, book would be good, whatever you got. And we can draw a nice straight line right here. And I can correct it by doing this. Okay? So there is our line. X minus 4y minus 8 equals 0 is now graphed. Okay? So that's all we have to do. We have to find the x-intercept and the y-intercept. And then just plot them on the x and y axis, and then connect the dots. Okay? That's all there is to it. Alright. Next example. Graph the linear equation using the slope and y-intercept. So you find a slope and y-intercept. What we have to do is we have to take this equation and we have to change it into y equals mx plus b form. So, to solve for y, probably the easiest way of doing that is to get y by itself. So I'm going to take this y and bring it over here. So I'm going to get 4x plus 3 equals positive 3y. Then I'm dividing everything by 3 because there's this 3 in front of the y. So I get 4 over 3x plus 3 over 3 equals y. Now 4 over 3 is going to have to stay as 4 over 3 because 3 doesn't go into 4 evenly. But 3 goes into 3 once, so we get y equals 4/3 x plus 1. This is the equation of the line. Okay? Now that we got that, then it's important for us to identify what's the slope, what's the y-intercept. The slope is the thing that's in front of the x, so that's 4 over 3. the y-intercept is the number that's by itself. So we'll label the y-intercept first. The y-intercept is positive 1. The slope is 4 over 3. So that means that it has a rise of 4, a run of 3. In other words, I can go up 1, 2, 3, 4 spots, and then over 3. 1, 2, 3. So here's one more spot. And I can do that again if I want to generate a third point. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Here's my third point. So now I have 3 points on the line. I get a straight edge, and I draw a straight line through those points, like so. And there we go. That's how we graph the line 4x minus 3y plus 3 equals 0. You have to solve for y. You have to get y all by itself. Once you do that, you'll know the slope, you'll know the y-intercept. You can use the y-intercept as your starting point, and then use the slope to generate additional points. Okay? And graph the linear equation 5x plus 2y minus 20 equals 0 using any 2 points. So if we're going to use any 2 points, we can pick any 2 points we want. So that's kind of nice. Now the thing is if you don't make a good choice, you might get, basically what we're going to do is we're going to choose any value we want for x or y. It's up to us. Any value of x we want for x or y. Now depending on our choice, we might get a decimal, a fraction for the other value. So it's kind of important that if you do this, you kind of think of how the numbers are going to work together here. Like, for example, I see that I got 20. That's an even number. Okay? So if I plug in a number for x, if it's an even number, then I should be able to get a whole number for y. Now, if you can't think of it that way, that's fine. Because if you get a decimal, you get a decimal, and you can plot it, but it does help if you can. Alright? So, here we go. I'm going to let x, not x represent, that's a word problem. Let's let x equal 2. Okay, let's let x equal 2. So then, 5 times 2 plus 2y minus 20 equals 0. 10 plus 2y minus 20 equals 0. 2y minus 10 equals 0. 2y equals 10. Y equals 5. So we get the point 2, 5. X coordinate 2, y coordinate 5. That's 1 point. Now it says we have to use 2, so we get to do that once more. Now I picked x equals 2 for the first point. Maybe I'll try x equals 6 for the third point. So let x equal 6. 5 times 6 plus 2y minus 20 equals 0. 30 plus 2y minus 20 equals 0. So I get 2y plus 10 is 0. 2y equals negative 10. Y equals, if we divide, negative 5. So we have the point 6 and negative 5. So I've got the point 2 and 5 and 6 and negative 5. So 2 and 5 would be way up here. 6 and negative 5 would be way down here. Now all I need is as a line to connect those 2 points. So there we go. Let's try something like this. And there we go. Now we've got the line 5x plus 2y minus 20 graphed. Okay? Alright, so there you go. We can graph a line using its slope and y-intercept. We can use any 2 points. Or we can use the x and y-intercepts. Any way you choose is fine. So for homework, you're going to do questions 1 to 39, the odds, and I expect this to be handed in tomorrow.